Hi, this is James Walls, Mr. TV Production. And as you know, once again, I'm here with a friend. And so this week, I'm with Donald Gatson, Donald the Voice. How you doing, sir?
What's going on, sir? What's going on, my friend? How are you?
Hey, bud.
What's up, man?
Nothing much, man. How are you doing?
Doing great, man. Doing really, really good. It's good to be on with you, man, for a little bit. Long time, bro. Long time.
It has been a long time. And speaking of long time, tell the people how do you know Mr. TV Production?
Yeah, man. 18 years ago, I met this guy, which is crazy to think about. You know, being kids, really. So 18 years ago, met James Walls. Are you Quinn or Quan? I remember that. It's
Quinn,
like you
Quinn.
Quinn. Okay, yeah, I know about Mr. Walls, didn't you?
You just called my government name out to the whole world.
Sure did. That tells you how far back we go. But we met at Trinity Broadcasting Network, which is a faith-based Christian TV network that's like worldwide. And I was doing some volunteer hours for high school at TBN. I don't remember exactly when, James, but I remember in comes this other young guy. And so we just started talking, and I was like, okay, like this is interesting. Like I'm here volunteering and stuff like that, learning behind the scenes, TV camera work, and yada yada yada. And really, like for me, my role was like to kind of be like the do boy, so like whatever they said Donald do, like I did, type of deal. And James comes in, dressed in his all black security detail, earpiece in his ear, looking all important, and we just really hit it off, man. And at the time, I remember like you used to pick me up and take me to your youth group and stuff like that. And then and then that turned into like every Monday night, either I would like meet you at the station or you would come out because I was a driver at the time. You would pick me up from the house, and we would just spend hours together at TBN from the time that I got out of school on Mondays until like late at night until taping was done. And that then developed over like a long friendship. And then after that, I graduated high school, Miramar High School, class of 2003.
Okay.
And ended up graduating and going to Southeastern University. And I think I was there a year, and we had still kept in contact, I and your brother Jamil. And then you guys ended up coming to the Southeastern. And so we kind of continued our friendship there. And man, like, wow, I graduated 2007. Wow, that's been 13 years ago. Yeah, that's just crazy by itself. So, and now here we are, man. So that's kind of the short, condensed, crazy recollection of how we met and how fast time goes, bro. That's insane.
And now you're a daddy, a husband.
Yeah, man. Yeah, life has changed. Yeah, oh man. Yeah, man. So husband of one, daddy of one. Married my college sweetheart, Abby Gatson. Been married 11 years, which is dope.
Wow.
And then we have
congratulations on that.
Thanks, man. Appreciate that, man. And then we have James actually was the MC at my wedding too. That's a fun fact as well. That's crazy. You remember
that? Yeah, I do.
Yeah. So we then we have a daughter, Gia. She just turned 4, and she is just the light of our lives, man. She's fun, man. Really, really fun. So yeah, man. Life is cool. Yeah.
Cool, man. I appreciate you coming on, and you took me way back through everything. Like I was like, oh wow, all of that happened. So some people don't have good memory, so that's good to know you can remember that stuff.
And that's the short version of it, man, which is amazing. That's crazy.
Yeah. So really quick, I brought Donald on because this man is someone that, I'll be honest with you, I knew you took some communication classes, but I didn't know how serious it was for you. And so I was like, and then when you, boom, came out with Donald the Voice, I was like, and then you were doing all kind of podcasts and different things that I saw you doing with the wife and your daughter. And I was like, oh, this is what we doing nowadays. Okay. So this man is going back to the roots and pulling out what he learned and actually doing that from TBN and shadowing everybody in Southeastern. And so tell us a little bit how you got started.
Man, Okay, so let me go back to like to TBN days. Okay,
Okay.
I'll start there. Okay, so I, you know, TBN for me was definitely, oh, bro, this is crazy. This is crazy. So TBN for me was kind of like this like building block where in high school I had a just an amazing high school math teacher, Mr. Charles Elliott. I never forget. He was my algebra teacher. And do you remember Mr. Elliott? No, probably not. Okay, Jamil would know Mr. Elliott.
Probably.
And Mr. Elliott pretty much like took me under his wing and taught me just like how to run a soundboard and lights for stuff for theater because I was a theater kid like growing up. And so from there, man, I developed this interest in not only theater but kind of like the behind the scenes of like lights and production and stuff like that, right? So TBN for me was kind of like the real world, like, oh wow, like this is like a whole industry, like, and then the faith-based spin on it was like, oh wow, like so you can be like somebody who is not only a public speaker but who also can communicate, and then there's people who are behind the scenes who are also like good people and like who want to do right in the world and stuff like that. And I never forget hearing the TBN intro from coast to coast and around the world. It's time to praise the Lord. And the dude who used to do that, I never forget. I can remember the director's name, but he used to be a dude, James, who worked for I think NBC in the day, and then he would come over and direct for TBN at night. Mm-hmm. Mustache, tall guy.
Yep. Paul Barber.
Mark what?
Paul Barber.
Paul Barber. Wow, bro, we're going way back.
You talking about the director, right?
Yes. So Paul Barber, I'll never forget. I used to kind of like stand by the director's whatever room or booth or whatever, just kind of like waiting for people to kind of come up and down the stairs to guest. And I'll never forget the first time I heard the dude who was in, I think, Costa Mesa, California, punch in the voiceover guy.
From coast to coast and around the world, it's time to praise the Lord.
And he would record that same spot every single week live. And then he would say, I haven't thought about this in years. I'm like being taken back. This is so cool. Okay. So he would punch in and he would say all of the guest names, and Paul would have him like read back the guest names in different ways. And I was like, that's really cool. And so then I was maybe at TBN for like a year, and I met Dr. Mark Rutland, who was the president of Southeastern University. Dr. Mark Rutland was on one of the shows being interviewed about his book. I can't remember the name of it, but he was being interviewed about one of his books. And Dr. Rutland and I were talking upstairs in the room. So like, you know him, hey, sport, how you doing? What do you want to do with your life? That type of stuff. And so he was like, do you want to do anything, with TV and lights and da-da-da? And I was like, like, I actually have an interest in this. So he was like, you should come out to Southeastern. We do these overnight da-da-da-da. And I was like, okay, cool. And at the time it was Southeastern College. It was not what it is today, like super, I won't say broke down, but it wasn't SEU. Like it wasn't this bustling, amazing university that it is today. And I had applied to three different colleges, and this kind of like where the faith-based part comes in, man. And I remember like God really speaking to me that I needed to be in a place where I could mature, not only in my faith, but as a man, what I'm saying, like personally. And so I went for an overnight thing at Southeastern, and then that turned into me meeting Steve Dendrinos, who was one of the communications. Like he was Steve Dendrinos was in his first year as a communications professor, and his specialization was in radio. And on my overnight trip at Southeastern, he let me and Michael Mealy, who was my roommate at the time, who was going to be my roommate. He let us in the radio station studio at Southeastern. And he just kind of let us like play around like for 15-20 minutes. And I was like, this is kind of what I want to do. And so long story short, graduate high school and end up going to Southeastern. Now, a year into going to Southeastern, I changed my major to psychology because I really began to connect like a lot of what I experienced like and family and in childhood. I was like, man, like I really want to be able to help people and counsel and stuff like that. So like maybe at some point, you know what I'm saying, like this whole like TV, radio, communications thing, like these two things emerge. Ended up graduating with a bachelor's in psychology, and I'm going to get a master's in family and youth ministries, and I'm going into youth ministry. But like all the while, I had always had like this thing where I was just always doing something creative, like behind the scenes, doing youth ministry or editing a video or messing around like with my voice in some kind of way. And so like it never quite left. And so I'll never forget, I was in student ministry, and as you know, working with kids, you just end up creating stupid, funny skits and videos. And I ended up doing a voiceover for one of our videos. And so the guy that I was working with was like, bro, like you should really look into doing that. And I'm like, what, doing what? And he's like, like using your voice and like doing commercials or something like that. And in college, like people had always said, Donald the Voice or Don the Phenomenon, like that kind of stuff. And but I never really took it serious, man. So like, at the time, a cool part about my wife and I's story is that we were really big on paying off our student loan debt and stuff like that early. And so I was looking for different jobs to kind of supplement my income and stuff like that, and ended up putting together this what now sounds horrible, this horrible demo of me reading scripts on this $30 microphone in my closet, and put together like a demo by myself and put it up on this site that still exists today. It's called Fiverr.com, where you can pay, back then it was $5 and that was it. And I never forget, bro, like I put up this demo on like a Sunday, and on Tuesday, like I got my first order, and I was like, oh, like that it actually works, right? And so that began this process like 8 years ago, man, of me learning the skill of voiceover. And so, I would teach during the day, and then like when I got off of teaching, I would grade at the school or bring stuff home and finish grading. And then I just built up a client base of voiceover, clients over the years, man. And so it's crazy, man. I look at it now, and so whether it's been like podcasting or having a YouTube channel or different things that I've had a chance to do individually and with my wife, the biggest thing that stuck, man, is me being able to literally use my voice to articulate messages that people then take and put to video or put to audio, and share with the world. And so this whole like Donald the Voice brand, man, is just that, man. It's just a dude who was inspired, what I'm saying, as a 16-year-old kid, and over time just learned how to be consistent at helping people with his gift. And so wow, bro, I haven't thought about that stuff in years. That's amazing. Wow.
To even hear you talk about it, I was like, wow.
Right. Wait, pause. Do you remember we sat in Keith? What was Keith's Keith at TBN?
The sound guy, yeah.
Yes. Remember we sat in his
he's the one, because you said the director, and if he sees this on Instagram or Facebook, Keith, we not trying you. Donald was like remembering, and so he didn't remember all of it. Keith was the one to actually record the guy in Costa.
Yeah, Keith, you deserve your credit. My bad, bro.
But go ahead. What's up? What are you gonna say about Keith?
No, I'm just saying. You remember we, you and I, because we would have all afternoon while we were waiting for guests to come in. Mm-hmm. We would just kind of like, literally, we would be around TBN studios, just kind of like getting into stuff, You remember we, you and I recorded, I think it was on a doggone mini disc. We recorded this radio show.
Yes, and we went.
You remember that?
To a back room.
Yes.
Yes, I remember that.
Wow, bro. So, ladies and gentlemen, James Walls has probably have more to do with Donald the Voice than most people. That's amazing, bro. That's amazing. That's cool, man.
I remember that.
Memories. Wow.